All right, welcome everybody to US Fan TV. Sorry we didn't catch you last week. Pat and I had a few things going on, and TJ was with Uncle Sam, so we were a little out of pocket, I guess you could say. But we're here tonight, and we got a few things to talk about. The Bundesliga kicked off. The EPL had just kicked off the last time we were with you guys, so we got a few topics, and then we'll talk about the U.S., the men's team at least, playing friendlies next week, and kind of who we think is going to come up. So, how you doing, TJ? How was army training, sir?
Army training was fine, I guess. If you don't mind sleeping on a cot in a tent without power or air conditioning or anything of the sorts, 30 miles east, up at Fort McCoy in the middle of no man's land, where you have a tarp underneath your cots because there might be poison ivy on the ground. If you want a bathroom that doesn't smell like death, you have to walk a quarter mile, and then it's just a porta john. So, yeah, good times. Good times to be had by all. And I think 3G was usually about the best reception you get where we were. So it was kind of nice being disconnected from the world and not having to look at soccer Twitter perpetually. But at the same time, it's good to be home too, I guess.
Well, welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back. So,
yeah, I don't remember what Pat was doing last week, but my girlfriend fiance was back in the hospital for a couple days with a kidney infection, so we were a little preoccupied. So you didn't miss anything on the US Fan TV front, that's for sure. But
would I, even if you had shows, would I could it be argued I missed anything?
That is true. Probably true. I think I just commented to Pat in the comments about we have to try to look this bad.
Well, and it looks like Pat is trolling in the chat window tonight.
Yeah, Devin, bald guy number 1 is at McCraney18 there. So yeah, check him out. Anyway, on to the Bundesliga. So Herr Brooks kicked off his new season with a nice start, scored a goal for Wolfsburg. He also, unfortunately, gave up the penalty that allowed Schalke back into the match. But it's big anytime one of our defenders scores, but especially big when it's a defender who, due to injury, kind of had a pretty down last 12 months. So, big start for him. I think this was his 100th Bundesliga game as well. Weston McKennie, of course, featured for Schalke in the other half of it, but aside from getting a yellow card, his passes were decent, but nothing special there. Fabian Johnson, who may or may not play for the U.S. anymore, he has hinted that he may opt for international retirement, and I mean I think he's 30 now, so it would kind of make sense. After all, I mean, we've talked enough about how we don't feel like older players should be here anymore. So it would make sense if maybe he moves on. But in the meantime, he did have a goal for Gladbach. They beat Leverkusen 2-0. So that was big. It was his first start since November too, which was certainly a good, cool thing for him. Christian Pulisic, our wonder boy. Not exactly a wonderful game for him, I would say, on the whole. I mean, his dribbles and his passes weren't fantastic for much of the game. His speed was definitely a problem on the right wing for Leipzig. It was taking me a second there, but there was still a little bit lacking in his game, and I think that's part of why he got subbed off when he did. But he did play a role in at least 2 of the goals. One of them, he got the dove to get the call for the free kick, and another, it was his cross or his corner that led to Witsel getting the third goal. So up and down game for him, but he's still featured. He's still a star. Even as you like, some of the things you pick on him for are things that it's like, yeah, but everybody else would get a pass at that, or get like, oh, hey, look at how much he played or whatever. It is telling kind of how we've come to expect so much of him.
Well, and just kind of piggyback off of that, it's that, like we were talking about before the show started, is he plays a prominent role for Dortmund, whereas before he would just he'd come into play, he'd come out of play. He wasn't really in favor. Now he's one of the focal points of their attack, and that's really says a lot as to how far, number one, he's come as a player. Number two, what they expect of him, and number three, really it's kind of gets the clock ticking on how long before he gets called up to the big leagues with Bayern. So there's that to be said as well. As for Brooks, we'll get to that later. Does you bring him in one more time?
I definitely say yes. I mean, he's still young enough. To me, he's our other probably number one center back. And I mean, we'll get to that in a few minutes. But yeah, his history with injuries does make it seem that maybe he's not your forever number one guy. Maybe you consider him more like a number three or number four, but he has the ability to be one of our starting center backs, and
he's 25, so yeah,
yeah.
He's still plenty young. I guess he's been in and out of the lineup for so long now. I mean, for quite a few years now. I never realized that he was still really that young.
I mean, he was really young in 2014 in Brazil. So yeah, he could still very easily play in the next World Cup, and kind of be in the prime of his career. Now, at the same time, he could get injured and be done. We never know, and you can say that of anyone, but certainly his tendency towards, I think, tendency to have a history or a problem with injuries makes you wonder a little bit. But in the meantime, hey, there are plenty of guys who had problems with injuries early in their career and ended up just fine. So anytime he's playing well, I'm supporting him.
Who's better than Brooks? He's the only center back. I think Miazga's fine. Yeah, he's fine.
His move to France has gone well so far.
Sure.
I didn't actually bring him up in my notes, but it is good to note he's already starting for them. I mean, he pretty much moved straight into a starting role, and he's playing the game for him. He's not getting. I don't think there's a risk that he's getting subbed out, and that considering he just moved to a bigger team, a bigger league, that's good news. I like that he plays a little bit of fire, and I like that he can actually handle the ball some.
Yeah, but you hit the nail on the head. When you got to be playing.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll touch on that if you want to touch on this now, or we can wait. Is the story of seeing we didn't do a show last couple of weeks. I haven't been in there. Bill Hamid went over there. He rode the Pine Pony, and basically he had to come back to MLS to play, and that's just it. You want to play for the national team, you've got to be playing somewhere. You can't just be a training session guy. Otherwise, it shows. I mean, you got to have game speed is not practice speed. Whether practicing at Manchester United is better than playing in it. No, that's not it. You got to get game speed reps, at least at some level. So that's why, for somebody like Bill Hamid playing this weekend back for DC United was, that becomes important. I don't know if he's featured in your 23 that you're talking about, but
we'll get there.
Sure.
Yeah, I do. I'm torn on what to think of Hamid coming back to MLS, because it's definitely a hat in hand sort of move for him, because he was very vehement like a year ago, saying like I'm not staying, and he wasn't going to sign a new contract, and he made it clear he was going to leave, and to go and then essentially fail and be right back where you were. I don't know. I have to think that's got to be quite the ego stab for a player who kind of needs some things going his way. So hopefully this gets him back on track. But is he does he ever have a chance beyond MLS again? I don't know. I mean, sure, Donovan did it back and forth, but is Hamid an equivalent to Donovan? I doubt it. I don't think so.
Well, didn't Brad Friedel, didn't he start with Columbus way back when?
I believe it was Columbus. I was trying to think as you were bringing his name up. I was like, oh God, was it?
Let me,
It was yeah. It was Columbus, wasn't it? It's got to be right. One of our.
let's take a look. I mean, now he coaches the New England Revolution, but yeah, he was with the Crew for 96, 97, and then he went to Liverpool. So he was already 25 years, born in 71. So he was 25 years old when he made the move.
But I mean, to me, it's not necessarily even the age thing. It's more that he went and it didn't work and he came back.
Well, prior to Columbus Crew, Friedel was playing with Galatasaray, so he came back and went back and forth, and then I guess my point being out of all of that, especially with goalkeepers, you start a little later, you finish a little later.
Yeah.
In that sense, because there's a lot more to it. So I don't think Hamid's necessarily done. I think if he performs well, he'll get another shot at it. Maybe they'll see something in his game that wasn't there before. Maybe he's learned something about his game that he didn't have before. But not playing in Denmark, kind of telling. But maybe you go make a move to a second division, Bundesliga 2, or something along those lines. So. What are you laughing at?
The comments about Lori.
If Pat, if Pat would just suck it up and just get power already, we wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah,
but that's proof God hates Pat. Let's face it for what it is.
Yeah, the weather's not been friendly to us. He was without power. My basement was leaking again last night and today. I think I finally got it stopped. The last I checked on it, I've checked on it a few times this afternoon and evening. It seems to have stopped. But, yeah, I seem to have plugged the problem well enough for the time being. But I think I'm going to have to wait until everything dries out and then actually go fix it long term. But whatever. I guess that's...
Sorry, I'm going to take the show. I'm going to take the show off the rails. There was a question about, do I miss the old gray PT uniform? I do, Robert, in the sense of it had the reflective material in it, where this one, essentially, if you don't have a PT belt, you might as well just be a greasy spot on the road. So I kind of like the reflective part of the old PT uniform. But other than that, it wore like shit. But it is what it is. So moving on.
Booyah. TJ's old school. He wears PDUs for PT.
Not that old. I'm at my third different variation of the Army uniform, the BDUs, the ACUs, and LOCPs, but not that old yet.
Old man Zaremba. Anyway, speaking of other players moving a little bit beyond Bundesliga, let's stay a little bit in Bundesliga. Josh Sargent continues to kind of tear it up for Bremen too. How long is he going to last on a backup squad if he keeps scoring?
No, and I'm guessing he'll be, when they start getting the cup play, he'll be featured. He'll get some time for that for sure, especially if he keeps scoring goals. It's when they figure out the holes in his game, do they start isolating it? I don't know how much that happens down at the 2 level.
Yeah, I doubt. Yeah, in 4th division or whatever it is, that's really happening. But it could when he if and when he makes it all the way up to first team. And
that's, like I said, I could see him being a cup feature for the cup side this year. Maybe as a starter, maybe not, but I think he'll be in the 18 for that. But if he keeps scoring goals at the 2 level, you'd think he'd get a run at some point, depending on their form.
Yeah,
although if they're scoring goals, they're not going to need him. Obviously.
True. Yeah.
So,
DeAndre Yedlin,
he giveth and he taketh away, or was it the other way around?
Yeah, he giveth and taketh away. It's about right. Yeah, he had the assist on on the tying goal for Newcastle. And just minutes later, gave away it was such bad luck. Give away the own goal to lose the game. Yeah, it was really oh hell yeah, good, I was cheering for him, just because of him, like not because I support Newcastle anyway. But yeah, ooh, that hurt. Well, I think I just heard some thunder my way.
Well,
Um,
we know God hates you, so I'm pretty sure your house is
eh,
smited to begin with. I mean, and then Pat apparently has power again, but isn't man enough to, turn on his computer and dial in because he feels like trolling is a better use of his time. Pat, I would expect that out of Chris, not from you, Pat. So,
so on that note, let's go to our 23 for next week's game against Brazil. Next week's games, week and a half for are against Brazil and Mexico. Starting at the goalkeepers, I've got Zach Steffen, I think, of course,
duh.
Alex Bono, and one Bill Hamid.
Oh,
I,
we spoke about Bill Hamid, and I guess of the three, I can't argue with any of them. I think Zach Steffen is your clear. At this point, he's your clear. You know what? Gonzalez, is he healthy?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know. To me, I kind of put him in with an asterisk next to him because I look at it two ways. One is it could be a boost to his confidence because until probably a year ago ish, well, maybe not quite a year ago, I think he was probably still the number one. Once Guzan and Howard were kind of out of the way, I think it was pretty much down to Hamid at the time. And I would say post November, Guzan and Hamid were out. I know some people are talking about Guzan could get the call up again. I don't necessarily see a problem with it. He still can play the ball, and we have a team that maybe could start actually playing the ball on the ground more often. So maybe we do start playing out of the back. He's not a bad choice. He just kind of was in a lot of bad positions, and I heard his bad. I shouldn't even say like bad positions make it sound like he was just playing poorly. I think he just kind of was in a lot of bad teams, and I think it hurt his confidence to the point that he was starting to play poorly. But I think he maybe got more grief from that than perhaps he deserved. But anyway, that's beside the point. I went with Hamid because I either see it as it could be um, just a chance to boost his confidence, and unlike a lot of players who have just changed teams, it's not like he needs to resettle in at DC United. He knows everybody. He knows the team. They know him. The fans know him. He doesn't have to do anything really to kind of maintain a starting spot there. So it's not like a lot of players who've just moved that, you're not going to call him up because you want to give him a chance to get into the starting 11. So I see this as more of he probably won't play, but maybe this helps him feel better so he gets his confidence back and plays better going forward.
No, with Hamid, I concur. I think I still think he's a better choice. I see TJ Sala trying to troll us a little bit with Sean Johnson. I'm pretty sure he's just looking to see me melt down about Sean Johnson. I still think Sean Johnson, he's a good MLS keeper. He has no business being anywhere near the national team. He has no skill. You talk about being able to play out of the back. That watch some of the highlights, if you want to call him that, of Sean Johnson playing the ball out of the back, and you're just going to see him bombing the ball 70 yards down the field in no discrete direction or with no definite game plan involved. So I think Sean Johnson is a good MLS goalie. He has zero chance of ever making the national team anymore. He had his chances. He didn't capitalize on them, and I think he was part of the last Olympic qualifying group, and when he started, he led a couple howlers in there. Zach Steffen obviously is Zach Steffen, and then I think Jesse Gonzalez should get a look over Alex Bono. He has been playing for Dallas. I think he's been the last couple. He hasn't been, but he has been in the 18. He's playing. I think he deserves a look. I get it. He's been hurt, but I think he's one you need to start seeing what you have with him as well. This is a good chance. I'd at least get him a run out for one of those games. Alex Bono, he's going to kind of be what he is. I think Zach Steffen is, like I said, he's lights out. You're far and away, so he's going to get time. So I think that's the three I would go with in that sense. So
works for me. Defense. I've got Miazga, Brooks, Yedlin, Anthony Robinson, Carter Vickers, Viafania, and then I put these two in because their coaches or teams have basically said they're going to be there. Aaron Long and Eric Palmer Brown.
Can't argue any of those. To be honest, there's not a whole lot of discussion to be had.
Yeah, to me, it gives you coverage at basically every spot. So you have kind of a first and secondary player. Or I mean, technically, you have probably more than that, but you basically have somebody at every spot. And it really gives you a chance to put some of these young guys in. Part of what I was doing when I was looking at this was a little bit of who would I like to see, partially because we got to start planning for the next Olympic qualification. It would be nice to actually qualify for an Olympics and maybe even try to, win the thing. And so we want to see more of our young players get in. And we've discussed at length about why we don't need some of our older players to come back. But beyond all the reasons that we have for that long term, part of it I think is this is the time to get all those young guys a chance, so maybe they don't look so wide eyed when it comes to the next Olympic qualification.
And
anyway,
and I see Christian mentioned we'll just say the white elephant in the room, for lack of a better term, with Michael Bradley. We're talking about defense. I still think if he features at all, that's where I would think he would feature. But but Miazga playing well with John Anthony Brooks, I think you have your back too.
Yeah.
But I guess out of anywhere, I'd see that would be Bradley's role at this point more than any. Definitely,
I mean, yeah, we've talked about this before. I do think that if Bradley has a role going forward, maybe it is something like a center back, because he reads the game well. He doesn't have to run as much. He doesn't have to cover as much ground then. And hell, half the time when he was playing as a central mid, he was lining up behind our center backs anyway to go get the ball. Maybe now we could actually move a player out of that position, out of that space. But man, speaking of Christian's comment, yeah, Conrad's. Oh, hey, look who's here.
Hello. I have thoughts on Michael Bradley, so I just
you got tired of trolling everyone and decided it was time to talk. Yeah, Conrad's comments on Bradley were
that was the thing I wanted to talk about.
Interesting.
Yeah,
now I really wish we could get Conrad on the show.
He basically said he's a know-it-all alpha male who makes things difficult for people around him, and talked about how there was a guy on the 2014 team, a defender, Matt Beasler, maybe? I don't know who it was, but might have been Matt Beasler, who had a hard time. He went to Jimmy and said, how do you talk to Michael Bradley during the game? And I went from, well, maybe there's a spot for him on the defense to, no, we don't need that vibe in the locker room right now. I don't see the point.
If that vibe is actually there, how much of that is butthurt players that never featured after 2014 as well?
Maybe, but I mean, you could see that being the case with Bradley, with captain intense all the time. I could see him being difficult.
But then again, the counter on that is they made it out of the group in 2014. In the group of death. So maybe you need to have that intensity, and you need to have somebody occasionally that lights a fire under these kids. I'm not saying he features prominently long term.
I think the problem, where I could see a little bit of both sides, where it's like, on the one hand, I don't have a problem with us having know-it-all alpha male players on our teams. Those guys tend to turn out.
Those guys exist in sports quite a bit. Yes,
yeah, and they often turn out to be pretty awesome.
But what you don't want is that at this point. You don't want that stifling thing that maybe. And you also, there's something to be said for letting these guys go out together,
figure it out,
screw something up, and figure it out themselves, and not be told what Michael Bradley thinks is the solution.
Yeah, they need to figure out who the leaders are amongst themselves. They need to figure out who they can depend on their own, and they don't need a second coach out there kind of telling them what to do on the field, which is pretty much what Bradley is. In that regard, yeah, look, I've said my piece on. I loved him for the U.S. I don't see the need to have him out there ever again. And to me, his time's passed, and it's sad, I guess, that it had to end the way it did. I shouldn't say I guess. It's sad it had to end the way it did, but realistically, we got to move on to the next generation.
Yeah, I'm done being sad about the whole thing.
What's the point in in treading water with him when that's all you're doing? I understand you want some. Oh, my iPad is not happy to be running right now.
Who could have guessed?
I didn't realize until an hour ago that it wasn't charged at all. But it's not something that, I don't know, you want to deal with. Like, just move on and let the new guys figure it out. Anyway, moving on. Midfielders, Pulisic.
Wait. I'm sorry. I got one more. We got one more we forgot to throw in on defense, because you need to have that. You need to have DeMarcus Beasley. I think he just needs to be. He needs to be a staple till he's in a wheelchair.
Moving on to midfielders, Pulisic, McKennie, Tyler Adams, Will Trapp, Saif, Areola, and I'll say Chris Durkin and Keaton Parks.
Is Saif going to play before he gets hurt? Am I not popping up on the screen?
That's a good question. I think you are.
Am I just staying in the little part? I don't see myself popping up on the screen.
And we're all thankful.
I'll watch and see.
But we're all thankful for this.
Now you're popping up. You're fine.
Okay.
I did have question marks around, like, could Acosta maybe make it again? What about Bradley?
I guess I've heard a lot of noise about Bradley being in with these friendlies, and I'm not sure. I hope not.
The fact that Dave Sarakin talked about it is what makes me think maybe he'll be there. But yeah, we've said our piece on what's the need. It's just not necessary, and at this point, why give a spot to a guy that you know what you get from?
And I guess that's the argument I had with, if you're going to somebody like Michael Bradley as a midfielder, no. But like I said, I think maybe as a calming influence on defense, if you don't have a healthy John Anthony Brooks, you might need somebody like that. A healthy John Anthony Brooks gets you there. He's been down this road enough times. He's featured in games, in the big games, where Miazga not as much, and go right down the line. Cameron Carter-Vickers not as much onto this stage. So I think
how you use the John Anthony Brooks like it's 2013. John Cougar Mellencamp.
Shut up. That's all I get. Just shut up. So anyway.
All right. Moving on to forwards. I've got Bobby Wood, Tim Weah, Josh Sargent, and Andrija Novakovic. Thoughts, comments? I think kind of right now unless you stick Josie in there, I think our four forwards are probably kind of set.
Yeah, I don't even know if it takes four forwards, but maybe.
True. But
I feel like we need Zardes just for the entertainment factor.
We have there are a few guys I think who are just kind of on the outside who have the potential. They've just signed somewhere, or they're trying to get playing time somewhere, or they're still in a lower league but they're scoring goals, who could all possibly get there. But I'm not willing to call for them yet until, I don't know, they're proving something.
I didn't have time for lights, and I just realized my light looks like I'm telling ghost stories or something right now.
And again, the less we see of you, the better.
Yeah.
And TJ hit
TJ's camera went way up. So, just have like
looking up his nose.
Professional operation here.
Hey, we're good at
power.
It's a reunion show. What can I say? Nobody ever said it was going to be any good.
I understand what Christian's saying, that if Sargent isn't called in, he needs to earn playing time with Bremen first. I'm fine with that too, but I don't know. He's proving his case already at Bremen 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
If he also comes in and maybe gets a goal for the U.S., I don't think that hurts him, because realistically, he's not trying to get a spot in an under team for Werder Bremen. He's trying to make the full first team squad, and I think anything he does that shows him playing well and scoring helps that.
That's a good point, Chris.
I am. I often make them.
if we're going to go without Bradley and we're going to lose the ball factor, then we do need to have Sargent just so we have the soulless ginger on the team. You got to go one or the other, I think. And apparently I have anonymity says I need to be nice to you. So Pat, nice hat. That's about all I have for you.
You don't need to be nice to me.
Well, he said I need to be nice, so I have to compliment you. Nice hat.
To me, actually.
Nice
Thank
hat.
you. That's great. That's nice of you, TJ.
TJ Sala says he wants Lyndon Gooch in. I'm not against it. I mean, look, he certainly has skills skills on the ball that not a lot of our other players possess. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think he's got to get real playing time before we can start counting on him again.
Well, and
like
we
the
talk
counter argument to Josh Sargent.
Yeah, but he's already, at least he's playing for his full side. Like he's still in the team at Sunderland. It's not like he's playing for their youth squad or something.
No, but the other argument is Josh Sargent has had success with the national team at the earlier levels, so therefore I think he gets already a little bit of a head start because he's been successful earlier on. I mean, he has some skill with the national team, at least he has. Maybe he's in over his head at this point, but again, we've been saying all along, this is where you got to find out, kind of starting to see what you have going forward for the Olympic team and even towards the next World Cup. So I guess I'm fine with seeing Josh Sargent, where someone like Lyndon Gooch I think needs to feature more prominently to get a look or another look at this point. So.
Who noted Luca De La Torre? Chris asked about Luca De La Torre. He's at least playing for Fulham. I'd like to see him starting or coming in earlier or something. I mean, granted, who's making 45th minute halftime substitutions for players? It's not happening a lot of the time. But hey, if he is playing and he starts knocking in some goals, I think he immediately jumps back into contention for a spot. I don't know that I don't think it's happening next week, but maybe come November.
Anonymity asks, does Bobby Wood get in? We think he does, and I think if nothing else, just so we can say, well, we've got Wood, so there's that to be argued about for it.
He scores when he wants, except in Trinidad.
Yeah. Yeah, that was whatever. I don't want to talk about that night.
Best show you guys ever did, though.
Oh, I have never watched, and I don't think I ever will. Yeah, so what else you guys got? Because
do you know what I watched today?
What'd you watch today?
I watched the Fire play FC Bayern at the Allianz Arena.
You pay for that?
Well, I didn't pay them for it.
Well, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
There is Reddit soccer streams, though. It was fine. It just the contrast between 1,000 people in the stands last Thursday night against the Crew, and then 75,000 in the stands for this was interesting to note. It was fine. It was fun. They played a little bit too much defense on him when he was playing for the Bayern in the Bayern half. But he did eventually score. So
you think he was kind of set up that way a little bit?
I would have preferred we not make saves on him. I would have preferred he just I would have liked a Basti hat trick.
He was scoring like Putin in a hockey game.
I did enjoy though, Arjen Robben just cold. Just he's going to score. He's not going to pass to Basti. He doesn't care about the fact that it's a friendly and that they don't really want to run up the score. No, Arjen Robben's just going to go score a goal because that's what he does. I like that dude. I liked him before he dove against Mexico. I liked him when he dove against Mexico, and
It wasn't a dive.
It's true.
He was fouled.
He was fouled.
Who fouled him?
I don't remember. Was it Rafa?
Yes.
So therefore we know it was a foul. Then we know it was a foul.
We know who fouled him. We know.
It was definitely a foul.
If Marquez is involved, we know it's a foul. This is not a question or a gray area. I don't know why we have to even relitigate whether it was a dive or not. If Marquez is involved, you know there was a hack somewhere involved. Because that's about all he's good for. That and drug kingpinning.
Comments.
That and drug kingpinning.
Lord, I really like Hat Guy O'Leary. I think that's really good. Like, that's like the name of the Notre Dame logo, I think. Like, I should probably live up all the Irish stereotypes.
You're going to start doing...
Yeah. Oh, we're going to go fight a man in a bar.
Head coach suggestions. Now, we talked about we were going to do this last week. I think maybe we'll do it finally next week since things did not go our way last week or kind of leading up to this week, but tonight's show anyway. I think we have to talk about Mourinho because an awful lot of people are trying to say, oh, maybe he should be U.S. coach when he gets fired from United.
No fucking way.
I don't understand why anyone
I'd rather
wants this.
Dave Sarachan. I'd rather Bruce Arena. Bring back Jurgen. I don't care. No.
How do you really feel, Pat? I'm just curious.
This is. I could say so much about him, but I'll say this is the biggest thing to me. He didn't have any use for Kevin De Bruyne. No.
He spent 100 million pounds on Paul Pogba and now hates him.
I can't. Oh my God. No.
Yeah, anything that guy had going is done already. God, people say the U.S. sucks and is boring already. Imagine if he was really manager. Oh my God. Games would be horrible. Like, we would go to Trinidad and come out with like a 1-0 win because we sat in the box just as much as they did. Oh, it would be horrible.
You know,
and he would just badmouth everyone, so everyone would hate each other and hate him. I mean, it might be entertaining for like 6 weeks, but he would be destroying our program. Ugh, no.
But if we had a 1-0 win against Trinidad, we would have been in the 2018 World Cup. I thought I'd just point that one out at that point.
Fair.
Now that
one game he could have.
Now that said, everything else you guys have said about him would be, yeah, that's all true. I mean, I don't know what magic he had at some point, and I don't know where it went away.
Oligarch money magic.
There was that.
He did win the Champions League at Porto, though. So I guess, at some point, 3.
He won it in Inter Milan, too, didn't he?
He did.
He's won it everywhere. He's won it everywhere except United. Wait, did you say Champions League or did I? Sorry,
Champions League.
Champions League.
All I heard was you say he won. Sorry. Did they win?
So I saw this on Twitter, and I'm going to throw it to you guys because you guys are the Arsenal apologists of the group.
I know that we're apologists.
You are, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. That he held on to the saying that he's won 3 championships. That he held off on saying that in a press conference till
Wenger was gone. Yeah, absolutely. That was one of my first thoughts. Yep.
Now, here's my other question with Mourinho. So let's say we bring him in for the U.S. national team. Would he quit the first time he had to go to Guatemala, Honduras, or Trinidad and Tobago, just looking at the conditions going, oh, hell no?
It would. That is one of the things I think that would be funny is you would get to see him like give an honest opinion about what the conditions are like. Whereas Bruce was joking about them. We got Twitter jokes about them going and things before. Was that the TNT game where it was flooded around the field? Yeah, it was. It would be nice to have someone be like, this is ridiculous. And just call it out as, this is not the professional field.
Maybe we need
more Russian than anything. But
maybe we need Balky to be our coach then. Don't be ridiculous.
No one who watches this show.
Nobody here is old enough for that reference.
No, I mean, hopefully Alex has checked out and is doing his homework at this point.
Alex's
I don't
dad would
see-
know.
Hmm?
Alex's dad would know. We'd get the reference.
That's
Don't
true.
be ridiculous,
Do you
cousin
think-
Larry Appleton.
Do you think Jeff Cameron would get in a fight with Mourinho?
I would have to, if there was a betting line, I would take on the positive that yes, there would be a fist fight. And
They're
maybe
both
not.
strange people.
They're strange dudes. Cameron is
Strangely
like,
intense.
yeah. Cameron is like hardcore conservative, and Mourinho does sometimes make political comments.
You know, Christian has a good point. Mourinho wouldn't work with the younger players, so we would have DeMarcus Beasley and Wando back at the side. Maybe Alexi Lawless would feature again. Who knows? It's really hard to say at that point.
Alexi's not doing well these days with the Columbus stuff.
His
thing's
takes have
such a
not
disaster.
been hot, and
But
like
Well,
the best comments he has going on social media are pretty much just him making, like, kind of trying to make fun of the people who are just tearing him apart and
Yeah.
saying, like, I hate you.
Oh yeah, I also don't forget. I also got fired from the LA Galaxy. That was pretty funny. But and I guess he had the greater point that yes, if they're going to do it, they should just say they're going to do it and stop screwing around is probably not a bad take, but it does kind of feel like for a guy who takes a lot of heat for being a MLS apologist, an MLS mouthpiece, he is kind of taking the league's side very strongly on this one. So, and it does kind of suck. I don't think Chris and I were texting about this earlier. I don't think that MLS really realized how bad. I think they knew that the hardcore Crew fans would be against this. I don't think they realized that the rest of the league would be like, this sucks. Why are you doing this? Because they've done it before and gotten away with it. So they thought they could do it again. And they're going to get away with it again, I guess. But it's still not cool.
So,
I might lose power again here, guys. It's pretty bad.
I would say even I can hear that. But where was
And
he?
my
I guess
iPad could die at any moment. So,
The show could end at literally any moment.
well, I am running it through my iPad. I mean, through my laptop. So it just means that I'll disappear. I can come back in my laptop.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about to blow up here.
well, we're good. We're good, but we're good at that. So, but I guess my first thing with Alexi Lawless is where was he wrong? If like he said,
No, it's just anonymity. Hold on, I got to respond to this. No, I'm not Abraham Lincoln. I do have a mustache. I think it's just the lighting is not. I didn't set up my normal lights. There's that great photo of that fake
Chin
Lincoln.
strap. Chin strap. Chin strap.
No,
Strap it up.
I do like to do that though. When I do shave it down, I do like to do like, freak my wife out with Hitler stash or like the Lincoln beard or something ridiculous for like the chops for like 2 minutes, and then it is always fun. I don't go out in public like that because I'm not a moron, but it's fun
I like
to
do
in the
the
house.
Fu Manchu or
Yes.
and then go down to a pencil thin mustache, and then go around making
Like you're in the Backstreet Boys or you're Walt Disney or something.
Dude, I honestly have no clue what you mean by Backstreet Boys. There, I don't know. But I was
They
going
had
to
the
say
they had the pencil thin beards, I think, didn't they?
Sure, I don't know. I was too old.
What the
for
hell
that.
are
I
you
have no
talking
idea.
about? What the hell are you
I was
talking
saying
about at this point?
I do like a 30s gangster.
Look at here, see?
Okay.
What are we here for again?
Yeah.
All right, well, we were talking about Mourinho to the U.S. national team.
I think we may be done.
Yeah,
But
I was just
TJ
saying, I'm not the
talking
host of this
jerks.
show tonight, so you have to
All
decide.
right, yeah. Anybody got anything else?
I think we forgot to feature Wondolowski in for the next set of friendlies.
Oh God.
I think he's got to have a role to play, if nothing else, just to hear Chris swearing up and down about it.
I
so.
do hope that somebody like that makes the roster for the sake of this show.
Like I agree. Ben pointing out that Leipzig's a no-show after the 4-1 massacre.
Yeah. Little WTF. That's me using kids' text language to be hip.
Dude, you're fucking old.
I was just making fun of. Oh God, it's not. I can't think of who it is now. There's a corporation who tried to trademark all these like
Pat Riley.
text acronyms the other day. Copyright.
Oh.
Copyright. I think they want to do. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, I think we've hit the wall here. So this is US Fan TV. We are back. All right. I don't even know where I was going with that. You may know us from such things as US Fan TV Facebook, US Fan TV Twitter, US Fan TV YouTube, because you see us here. And I don't know, other US Fan TV things that I can't think of right now.
And if you know where to find it, you can find Chris on Snapchat.
I'm hearing thunder loud now here too. So yeah, I think it's time to wrap up. Thanks everybody. Any last words, gentlemen? And I use the word as loosely as possible.
No, I have nothing.
Nope. You're done.
All right, everyone. You are done. See you next week.
Look at the comments for you, Chris. Check it out right now.